All right, welcome back to the Dish and Switch podcast. I'm Trevor Trost here with Amadeus Peterson. Another week, another day, more games, more NBA action.
Of course. And with this week, it seems like there was more news than ever. Every week, it just seems like there's more and more we have to cover. I don't know.
Yeah, we got a lot to break down. We got our big stories, Draymond, recap of our game of the week, upcoming game of the week, team spotlight as usual, or low light. Our random news as always, and then our Dish and Switch draft. So let's get right into it. What's our big story of the day?
Yeah, so for our big story, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Golden State Warriors. I think it was last night the Warriors played the Portland Trail Blazers, and Steph Curry, for the first time since November 8th of 2018, did not make a three-pointer in that game. But yeah,
so
just
he
to
pretty
give
much had a streak as long as you.
no. He's a little bit better than me, but just to give some context to that, in 2018, Dwayne Wade was still in the league. Kawhi was on the Raptors. Jimmy Butler was on the Timberwolves. Kyrie was on the Celtics. Russ was on the Thunder. It was LeBron's first year in LA, and KD was still on the Warriors with DeMarcus Cousins in the last game that Steph Curry did not make a three in the NBA, which is just ridiculous.
LeBron's been on the Lakers that long? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, good for Bron. All right, well, that's a lot of different scenery back then.
Yeah.
That's a whole different league right there. Kyrie on the Celtics, man. Jimmy on the T-Wolves? Jimmy B?
Seems like a lifetime ago. But I guess out of the players that we see now, like besides Steph Curry, like is there a player in today's NBA that you think could go on a similar streak?
No. I
Really?
just don't think players take the same volume of threes that Steph does.
Yeah.
If there would be another one, it'd probably be similar to Klay Thompson. But I just don't see Halliburton shoots a decent amount, but not a ton. I'm trying to think of other big name 3-point shooters. I just don't think we have a ton. I could see Keegan Murray after the other night, maybe getting there because he hit 12 the other night. So I think that we could see maybe some of these young guys, but I don't think there's like a star or a veteran in their league right now that is kind of even close to what could happen. So we'll see. I don't know. But what Steph Curry does, I just think we as a society kind of take it for granted. We as NBA fans, that's just a ridiculous stat. Like, let's be real. Like that's just a ridiculous stat. To hit a three in 268 consecutive games, that's just, it's absurd. But I think we just think because it's Steph Curry, it's just normal, right? Like that's just an everyday occurrence. But no, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think there's really anyone in the league who can do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be a player that kind of grows into it, like maybe like a Keegan Murray, or I don't know, a star like that is gonna kind of have to grow into it, maybe if they were to compete with that. But 268 consecutive games is ridiculous, spanning 5 years.
Give my boy Jordan Hawkins the ball, man. Come on.
Ooh, yeah. No, you're right. But yeah, I guess staying in Golden State, we have our boy Draymond Green. Tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, everyone saw it was like the national headlines. They came out today and said it's most likely going to be 3 weeks that he goes to therapy and gets help or whatever. But if you did miss it, the Draymond Green 360 smack punch, whatever it was, flail into Jonas Valanciunas, and then Draymond Green after the game says, if I was purposely trying to do that, you think I'm accurate enough to do a 360 punch? It's gotten to the point where it's too much. And he's over the rails right now. Like, this dude he's crossed the line. Even when, KD and all these other guys come out and are like, this dude needs some help right now because he's not who he was. I just think he's too far. And if it weren't for the other instances, I think maybe they would let this type of thing slide. Maybe just hit him with like a 1-game suspension. But because he's such a reoccurring, offender, it's just like you have to. The NBA had to do something, and I don't know. Was it? Did they handle it right in your opinion?
I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, what happened with, Yusuf was kind of like the very beginning. It's been, it's not the very beginning. It's happened since 2016 that Draymond Green has been suspended, and I think his punishments from the beginning have maybe been a little bit too soft. So he kind of feels like, the worst that's going to happen is, he'll get a 1-game suspension. And then this year they've kind of cracked down a little bit and, started giving out, heftier suspensions for the stuff that he's done. So I think because of the way that the league's handled it in the past, it makes Draymond feel like he can get away with it now. And so I'm happy that they're, taking a stronger stance on this, and hopefully it means, he thinks twice before things like this happen. Because obviously, like, despite what he says, and I just don't think this can be an accident. And so yeah, I hope that the league keeps cracking down on it, and hopefully that means that he'll change. But if it doesn't, I think the punishment just needs to be heftier and heftier, so he can learn and change. Hopefully.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he's on the trading block, which we'll get to a little later. But they've talked about now his name is kind of being floating around there. But we'll see how they handle it. But that brings us to our game of the week, our past game of the week, our recap. We had the Pacers Timberwolves 109, 127. Minnesota pulled that one out. Pretty hefty win. Halliburton was out that game, so it wasn't kind of everything we thought it would be built up. What breakdown can you give us from that game?
Yeah, so on the Indiana side, obviously kind of struggled without Tyrese Halliburton. TJ McConnell got the start. He played well, but like nothing like a Tyrese Halliburton. But then on the other side, we saw a dominant performance from Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. And in this game, sadly, Jaden McDaniels went out with the middle of the game with a bruised tailbone. So hopefully he's okay. But I guess this got me thinking, like, we're 25 games into the season or so, and I think the Timberwolves are 19-5. So I guess it's got me thinking, like, is this Timberwolves team, are they a contender? Are they someone that you could see come June still fighting for a championship?
So this is actually a good question, and I was actually talking with someone about it yesterday, and I went to bat for the T-Wolves. I think they're legit.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the Timberwolves are a legit contender. I just think that they're built so well from top to bottom. They have a guy on the bench that's put up a 30 ball the other night in Naz Reid. That is just an absolute stud, and he doesn't get talked about in the NBA enough. And they re-signed him for this year, but he's one of the underrated big men scorers. He moves like a guard, and he's like 6'9", 6'10". And then obviously Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and then Mike Conley is a perfect complementary guard for the way that they play. And then they just have pieces off the bench. Nickel Alexander Walker, Naz Reid, like we said, they got some dudes. So I really think they are a legit contender. They have the slow-mo as well. And man, they just got the pieces to build this team. We'll see if they're, Karl Anthony Towns can be mature enough to, help them get to a second round of a playoff. But I think Anthony Edwards, we've talked about it in the last couple of months over the podcast. Like, that dude is legit. Like, let's not even play. And Karl Anthony Towns, if he wants to show up every night, and Rudy Gobert's been putting up insane numbers too. We talked about that last week. Man, they all complement each other so well that it's going to be hard to stop, especially when you have different facets of scorers, right? And they all score in different ways. So I think they are. I think we'll see as it progresses, but health is a big thing for any contending team. So we'll see how they are, come June or May, whenever the playoffs get ready to start. So I don't know. What do you think? Was I kind of too far off there?
No, I think you're right. I do really like the pieces that they have. I guess my one reservation is just the lack of playoff experience. I mean, hopefully hopefully for them, like guys like Mike Conley, who are seasoned vets who've done that before. Rudy Gobert, who's been in the playoffs before, can hopefully instill that playoff experience in their teammates and prepare them for that stage. I guess that's my one worry when it comes to the Timberwolves is that lack of playoff experience. But I mean, looking on paper, man, they are a great team and they have all the pieces to be a team that contends for a championship.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's hard because I look at the team and like you said, playoff experience I think is a big reservation of mine as well. I think Anthony Edwards will rise to the occasion. That dude is just a ball. Like he's a competitor, and we've talked about that in the past. And I think he's ready for the playoffs. I think he's like hungry for it. But I don't know. I feel like they've had a hard time getting Karl Anthony Towns to be serious, like when it matters most. So we'll see if Cat can step up. I mean, a 40 ball and 12 the other night was pretty legit. So one of the best shooting big men in the NBA. So we'll see if they can turn it around or keep going. I mean, and that brings us to our upcoming game of the week, the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. And why is it our game of the week?
The return of Ja Morant. So obviously, like many of our listeners know, he's had the 25-game suspension to start off the season, and so this will be his first game back. I think it's a game on TNT, so everyone can tune in there. Usually we like to pick a game at the end of the week, but I think this is just a game that you have to tune into as an NBA fan just to kind of see how Ja comes back, how he adapts, and how I guess the Grizzlies can hopefully right the ship. Right now they're sitting at 6-18. So, what do you see coming from the return of Ja Morant? Do you think that the Grizzlies can turn it around?
Ja Morant will be a big piece, right? He's their focal point, right? He's their star. He's kind of who they all look up to, which for better for worse. But I think that they will make a turnaround, but I don't think they're going to make. They might skirt in a playoff or in a playing game, but they're not going to be higher than a 10 or 9 seed, in my opinion. I just don't think they've had the pieces that they've had in the past. When you put it on paper, it looks okay, but the problem is they're playing guys who I really just don't think are like big name playoff players. And it's nothing against these guys, but David Roddy can't be a starter on a contending playoff team. And it's nothing against David Roddy or any of those other guys, but the Grizzlies got some problems. And I kind of like how Ja took a little bit of accountability the other day in his press conference by saying, he needed to be out there with the guys and it's kind of his fault. But I mean, they didn't hold down the fort too well while he was gone. But then again, you're the star. And so that when a franchise builds around you and then you can't play for 25 games, obviously like that messes up your chemistry. Do you think that they skirt in the playoffs in that last couple spots or what?
No, I don't see him. I don't even see him making the play-in, to be completely honest. I think they lack just a lot. I think the loss of Steven Adams isn't talked about enough with that team because just Steven Adams in and of himself makes the Grizzlies a good rebounding team, but without him, they struggle because Jaren Jackson, despite being defensive player of the year, being a big body, he doesn't rebound the ball very well, and so they do lack a lot when it comes to rebounding the ball and that like big presence. They're kind of missing, and they've had injuries that they've dealt with. Like players coming in and out of the lineup with like Santi Aldama and Luke Kennard and other players like that, and just like the lack of consistency I've seen throughout the Grizzlies. Just I guess it doesn't make me feel good about. I mean, the rest of the season for them, even with Ja coming back.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just such a big question mark because they haven't been able to perform. So we'll see with the Grizzlies. We'll see how it goes. But another team struggling that can't find a win is the Detroit Pistons, and the losing streak is currently up to 23. Will they break the losing streak record at 26, or will they get a win? And I'm going to ask you this. I want you to answer, will they break the losing streak record at 26? First.
I think that they will break the losing streak record. Lots of people have the Jazz they have the Jazz at home in a
I know
few
that
days.
hurts. That hurts. It hurts because I was reading that. I'm like, not my Jazz,
Yeah,
bro. Come on.
but with the Jazz, you have Lauri Markkanen, who's coming back from injury. He's been on a minutes restriction these last few games, but by the time they play the Jazz, I think he'll be off the minutes restriction. And even though the Jazz are only 1-11, I think away, I think just having Lauri Markkanen on your team and having Keontae George, who's been starting to play a lot better, and Taylor Hendricks getting in the rotation, shooting the ball pretty well and playing some defense. Like, they've had some people start stepping up. And so obviously not a good sign for Detroit, but I just don't see them beating the Jazz in that game. And then I think they'll take 2 losses to the Nets, and then they have the Celtics after that. So I think if you're a Pistons fan, you better be cheering really hard at that Jazz game, because if not, you're not looking at a win until next year. So
yeah, it's not looking good. Let's be real. The Hawks, you never know. The Hawks could somehow, but I doubt it in Atlanta. But the Jazz is definitely their best chance to break the streak. And Monty Williams was talking about it, how he's kind of embarrassed and he feels a lot of the blame. So it's never good when your team's coming up to play a team like this, because if you're a Jazz fan, I might be a little nervous because it's just kind of the perfect storm. So we'll see what happens. But we're talking about some good players, some players on some big streaks. You've talked about it. Markkanen's playing well recently. But let's kind of talk about some of the big performances this past week. We had 15 40-point games this past week.
Yeah, inflation is crazy.
Teams are scoring at an unreal rate. So I kind of want to go through a little bit of this, and then I'll let you kind of take over on the back half of this. But we kind of had the Giannis 64 ball this week, which we're going to talk about a little later. Keegan Murray, we talked about him earlier as well. 47 points, 12 3-pointers versus the Jazz the other night. They couldn't guard a traffic cone. Joel Embiid, 42 points, 15 rebounds at the Hornets, and then 41 points and 11 rebounds at Detroit. I saw a funny joke talking about how Joel Embiid only plays the bottom dwellers. I don't know if you saw that one, but
he cooked them.
And then my last two, for me, Brunson, 50 points, which was an impressive game at Phoenix. And then Cam Thomas had 41 at the Warriors. So I think those are kind of, to me, pretty impressive outings. What other 40-point big games did we have?
Yeah, I don't know how impressive this is because it was against the Pacers, but Cat had 40 points and 12 rebounds. Luka, since being a father, has been going crazy. He had 40 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists versus Portland. Then we saw a head-to-head battle of SGA and De'Aaron Fox. SGA dropped 43 and 9 assists, and Fox had 41 and 7. Brandon Ingram dropped 40 against the Wizards, so I don't know how impressive that is either. But Jaren Jackson had back-to-back 40-point games in Houston and Dallas. DeMar DeRozan dropped 41 with 11 assists in Milwaukee. And then a name that maybe you wouldn't expect on the list, but Bogdan Bogdanović dropped 40 versus Denver.
Wow.
But yeah, I guess, I don't know. This season, I guess these past couple seasons, I think we've seen players scoring a lot more than we've seen in the past. It was pretty rare to see a 30-point a game scorer, and this year I think there's 5 or 6. So is that just a trend in the NBA? Is that gonna?
We've been seeing it the last 10 years. It's just been trending in that direction, right? I watched an old recap of an old Lakers game with early Kobe, and the score was like 76-80 was the final, and it's like, geez, like the NBA just doesn't have that anymore. And it's in part because of the rules, right? The rules have changed a little bit to it becoming a fans game because they want to make it more better for the viewers. But at the same time, they've eliminated a lot of the rules that help defenders, so it's just such a high-scoring game. I don't know. I think we're just trending in that direction. I think it'll be interesting to see because it seems like during the playoffs, and I know you can attest for this, players actually take defense way more seriously. So I think we're always going to see a trend of the regular season being super crazy high scoring. and then maybe the postseason kind of players kind of lock it in because players kind of take it way more seriously, which is good. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of NBA fans, and a lot of people say they don't even watch until the NBA playoffs just because players don't try hard, and it's kind of an understandable sentiment because if I am being honest, like there's some competitive stuff, and we've talked about it with the in-season tournament helped a lot of that as well because players were playing super hard. But I don't know. Do you think there's a big difference between the playoff intensity versus regular season intensity? But do you think we're becoming too lackadaisical with the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can also attribute it to. I just think players are better. Like we're at a point in the NBA where I mean, I don't think like lots of the time I think it just good offense beats good defense every time. And so I think some of these players are just so offensively gifted that really there's nothing defenders can do. And I think like we go back, 10, 20, 30 years and there used to just be like a few really offensively gifted players on each team, but now it's like if you're playing in the NBA, you're extremely offensively gifted. And so I think it could be due a little bit to that. But yeah, I think in the playoffs, it comes down to a little bit more game plan and strategy where we see coaches who, after every single game, there are major adjustments to, play better defense and lock in on these players. And so once you're just playing a single game in the regular season, it's kind of hard to lock in and, know exactly what your scheme should be. But yeah, I think I'd attribute it a little bit more to that, to the skill of players and how playoff series are a little bit different than the regular season. So
all I want is more Lugens-Dorts in the NBA. That's all I want. Okay, that's all I want in the NBA. Is like 15 more of that dude right there. So
he's a rare breed, honestly.
He is. He's built like a 6'7" linebacker. So, but that dude takes. I just want dudes who take defense personally, and he's one of them. Yeah. So,
and you know what team does not take defense very seriously? The Indiana Pacers.
Yes, and because of that, they gave up 64 to one of the MVP frontrunners, Giannis, breaking the Bucks single game scoring record. Can you tell us a little bit of what ensued after this great record-breaking performance?
Yeah, so Giannis breaks Michael Redd's Bucks record that was at 57 before the game.
Shout out to Michael Redd, man.
Yeah, he was a bucket back in the day. I remember that. But yeah, it was at Milwaukee, so I think usually the home team gets the game ball. And so after the game, the Indiana Pacers took the game ball to their locker room. And Giannis took exception to this and went and talked to the Indiana's players, and it was almost like a little scuffle, like a little yelling match.
Talk to is a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah, he was mad. He was fuming. He was fuming so much that he proceeded to run into the Indiana Pacers locker room to try and get the ball before he was stopped by security.
It looked like the Isaiah Stewart running through all the security. Did it not kind of look like that towards LeBron?
That's a great comparison. He's
got security. He's dragging him. He's throwing him around.
Yeah.
I was cracking up watching that. Like that's just comedy. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
No. And then the Pacers players were telling Giannis that they got the game ball because it was Oscar Tshiebwe's first points while in the NBA. And so the day after this happened, the Indiana Pacers decide to sign free agent James Johnson, who is a black belt and has a 7-0 record in MMA and a 20-0 record in kickboxing.
Yeah, he's a notorious bruiser. Let's be honest. Like, that's a bodyguard right there, and I respect the hell out of that move. What a signing! Like, let's call it what it is, man. They got a bodyguard out there. They got a future, not even all-star. They got a future star in Halliburton, who's already being a star. You gotta have a couple bodyguards out there to protect that guy. Like, I'm serious. I'm sorry, but Miles Turner, you're not that guy, bro. Like, Buddy Hield, you're not that guy. But In my opinion, Giannis was kind of out of line. Like, I understand that you want the game ball, but bro, he looked like a freaking. I'm a big Giannis fan too. He looked like a clown, dragging security, coaches, trying to get to the locker room. Like, bro, what are you gonna do? Like, seriously. And the funny thing is, if you go watch the replay, they've been over it. They've been through it. The Bucks staff is the one who got the real game ball after the game. They broke it down. And so the Pacers had actually gotten a fake, like a non-game ball. And at the end of the day, who was it that was it was a former NBA player. I can't remember who it was that said it. He's like, honestly, like, it's just going in a case, like, just write 64 on it, and no one's going to know it's not the real game ball. And then in this post game, he has the audacity to go, I felt that ball for 38 minutes or however many minutes. I don't think it's the game ball that they gave us. Oh, okay. Like, come on, man. Like, did he cross the line or what?
Yeah, I think he did. I mean, I get it. You want to have the ball of, like, the game, you know, it's not every day someone scores 64 points and breaks the franchise record, but I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, he got a ball. Like, who knows which one's the real one? Just sign it.
They don't even know who has it. Like, no. I saw 7 different replay angles of different. It's the Bucks guys got the ball, then somehow the Pacers got a different ball. Then they were switching. Like who even knows who has the real basketball at this point?
Yeah. So I think it was an overreaction, but hopefully Giannis enjoys the ball that he did get. And he said he was going to give it to his mom. So hopefully his mom has it in a case somewhere.
So let me ask you a question. Was the next night when he played and they brought his kids on the bench, was that a ploy to make Giannis look like a better dude?
Maybe. I mean, it was the game against the Pistons, right?
Yes. They were up like 20 or 25 in the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden they make room for Giannis's kids on the bench and they make him seem like they bring his kid. You know, I don't know if you saw the video of it, but
yeah, I saw the video of it, and I think that's more. I think it's less, a PR stunt and more. The Pistons are just so bad that an NBA player can sit on the bench with his family and not even have to worry about the game in the fourth quarter. So.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I think there was a little PR stunt in there involved for sure. Like, they zoom. I mean, even if it wasn't on Giannis's part, the cameraman made sure to get zoomed in on that for a good 2 minutes straight. So
that's fair.
Bucks PR knew what they were doing there. But talking about other interesting news. Mm-hmm. Another player with an interesting rap sheet of fights and being a bruiser and being a bodyguard. Mm-hmm. DeMarcus Cousins signs a 10-day contract, or a 10-day for game contract with the Taiwan Beer Leopards. The same team as Dwight Howard, and he'll debut on January 20th. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think, DeMarcus Cousins realized his time in the NBA is actually over. And so I think he's just trying to hoop because he loves hooping. I just don't think any NBA team was trying to take a swing on DeMarcus Cousins because of his history. I think he's good enough to play in the NBA. I think he's skilled and talented enough to be in the NBA, be a backup big. But I don't think teams want to, put up with him because of his past. So he'll be joining his boy Dwight Howard out there. So
you just got to be careful, bro. Just make sure.
Tune into Taiwan basketball, bro.
just give yourself some space from Dwight Howard. Anyways,
hopefully those. I mean, imagine being in Taiwan and going up against that front line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about Dwight Howard for other reasons, but
that's fair. That's fair.
But no, I actually like DeMarcus Cousins. He had a good run, but he's also a hothead. He's kind of like in the Dylan Brooks category for me of players, But man, great player, good player. Him and AD, whew.
That was nice. That Pelicans team was nice. Yeah. Those were the days. Well,
what's next?
Which brings us to the end. We got the Dish and Swish draft. So I guess we've been talking about a few players that have been maybe put on the trading block. We got Draymond Green that we've talked about in past episodes. We've talked about Zach LaVine and the Bulls trying to blow things up. I mean, Klay Thompson's been in trade rumors, Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Poole. Like, there's lots of players that have been in trade rumors. So, I mean, the trade deadline isn't until February 8th, I think. But right now, in your opinion, who are the top 5 players that are available on the trading block currently?
This is actually a really good question, because I was reading a lot of articles the past couple of days about players and destinations where they may land. I'm going to kind of go a different route, because I think this list isn't as people would seem. I'm going to say the best player, and this might be a little bit of homage to the Jazz, but I think the best player on the trade market is Lauri Markkanen. And I don't think he's as established as a guy like Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan, but I think he impacts winning more. And if you look at the way that Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Donovan Mitchell have gone to these places, and they're really high volume scorers, right? Lauri Markkanen is the opposite of that. This guy is putting up 25 points a game on 39% from 3, 50% from the field. Like, this guy's putting up insanely efficient numbers. And if you put him with, OKC, with what I was reading some of the trade rumors are, he just adds a secondary piece, or a third piece if you consider Chet, but I think he's better than Chet currently. I just think he's the most efficient and best value player out that could be on the market. And I just think he complements any team. I was reading an article that he is one of the most efficient he doesn't need the ball in his hands to score. He's one of the most efficient off-ball scorers in the NBA. I could go on and on about Lauri Markkanen, but I think if he is truly available, which it's kind of speculation if he is or isn't. I mean, I'm sure the Jazz would demand the whole house, of picks for him. I think he's the best in terms of value on what he brings to winning. After that, I think that's tough. I think Donovan Mitchell, just being a pure scorer, he's putting up insane numbers again. Like, he's scoring over 30 points a game, I think, again, or 28 or something. Just unreal numbers. He's a prolific scorer, and he impacts winning a good chunk because he can score the ball so well. Defensively, still needs to figure it out, but I think he'd be number 2. I'll have Zach LaVine be my number 3, because we know what Zach LaVine can do. It'll be interesting to see, because Zach LaVine and Donovan Mitchell, I think, are both in the same category for me, that I think they want to be in places where they want. I think they'll play better when they're in places that they are comfortable being, and I think they're both not exactly where they want to be at the moment. So we'll see. After that, I'm going to have to go with Jeremy Grant. I think Jeremy Grant brings a lot, and he's kind of one of those Mikal Bridges kind of swing guys who can be your third star, brings it offensively and defensively. He's just a piece that fits anywhere. It's kind of like Lauri Markkanen, but I just don't think his upsides. I think he's more usage than Lauri Markkanen is. But I think defensively and offensively he can bring it. So he's kind of a nice complementary piece to any contender. And lastly, I'll go Pascal Siakam. And it's kind of the same lines as Jeremy Grant. I think Pascal Siakam's kind of more proven. I think he's kind of, I think he made the All-Star game, right? He won twice.
Yeah.
So I think he's more proven. But I think he still is kind of inconsistent and trying to figure it out. So Markkanen, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Jeremy Grant, and Pascal Siakam. Top 5 right there.
Dang.
What do you think?
I like to see it. No, I like it. Do you think we're gonna see big trades at the trade deadline?
One of those that I said I predict will be moving. I think it's going to be LaVine or DeRozan somehow. I just think Chicago's just a dumpster fire at this point. So I think it's going to be one of those two. If I had to take a guess, Klay could be on the move too, because he's been in a lot of trade talks. But then again, the last 3 games he's playing really well. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's a Draymond Green. Maybe it's someone, a big name we haven't even talked about. So I don't know. What do you think? You think we get a big trade before the deadline?
Yeah, I think it's hard to predict. I think I think the Bulls have been shopping LaVine and DeRozan, and I guess I just don't know how much of a market there is for either of them. So I just don't think that they're going to get what they want. So maybe they're going to be taking pennies on the dollar to get rid of them. So I guess it just depends how patient the Bulls want to be, because I don't think they're getting what they want in the market right now. So I think it could be I think it might be a kind of slow trade deadline, to be honest. Because I think the contenders. I think lots of the teams that are outside of the contenders. I don't think one of those players is going to pull them up to the point where they're contending against some of these top teams. Like the Celtics are looking really good, the Timberwolves are looking really good, the Bucks are looking really good. So yeah, there's not as many teams on the bubble that can really jump into that realm that I think are gonna
it's gonna be a team like the Warriors or someone along those lines who's super underperforming that still has aspirations for a star, like Steph Curry, that wants to get the most out of them before it's too late, before they pass their prime. So we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting trade deadline. A lot could happen, a lot couldn't happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Still got a while. So we'll keep you updated on that.
Keep us updated, man. Keep us updated. All right. Well, we are the Dish and Swish podcast. We got a lot coming up. We got Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year coming up, holidays. We got all sorts of things. We're going to be trekking on here with our podcast. We're going to be figuring out when we're going to be releasing with Christmas next week. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. We'll be releasing. Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah, we'll get something out to you because next Tuesday next Monday is
Christmas.
Next Monday's Christmas. Yeah, so yeah, we'll have some Christmas games coming up. Per usual, I'm still missing the Christmas jerseys, so yeah, I'll be sad on Christmas if they don't get those out, but maybe next year.
We'll have some Christmas content, man. We'll have some breakdowns of our family, gatherings of our. We'll be here, man. We'll get it done. But
hey, we got the embroidery machine semi-working, so
that's the biggest news of the day.
Stay tuned for some Dish and Swish nice looking sweatshirts. I think is what we're doing first. So yeah, I'm working on it.
Say that is the biggest. We should have led with that. That's the big story of the day, right there.
My bad.
You figured out a way to code it or what?
Yeah, we got it looking right. So. Uploaded it to the machine, and now we got some Dish and Swish apparel going right from the crib.
Amadeus gets the apparel going, man. This guy, there's nothing he can't do. So he's podcast, he's an engineer, he's a guru, he's computer science, man. There's nothing this guy doesn't dabble in. NBA guru. That's what I'm talking about right here. And you heard it here on the Dish and Swish podcast. We'll see you guys next week. As always, have a good week.
Have a good week.